Oh boy, dealing with the '07 Acura TSX. Literally just got towed not too long ago, and just pulled up here. The battery's dead, so I do have a charger on that. She said it was vibrating and not wanting to run, but when she got it to the tow truck, when the tow truck came to pick it up today, it started up and went on the bed. And when I got it, it just ain't want to start. So if the battery's dead, complaints of vibration, logically, I'm thinking that thing over there, the alternator. Reasons being, if the voltage gets so low, below 10.5 volts, all the circuitry goes haywire, car can't run properly, lights comes on, and it's just a mess. And it just shuts down and starts going haywire. So I got the battery charged up. I don't know what percentage we on, but it should be strong enough to start it up right now. So let's start it up, and I'm just going to naturally, instinctively just check battery voltage and see where it is. Here we go. I'm going to take... Now, I do have to take that battery charger off because I don't want to leave that on there and think that everything's fine, because right now it's making 13 volts because the battery charger's on it. I'm just going to pull this off and then we'll look at it. Oh, before I do it, let's just check the oil. I just need to get in the habit of doing that. I'm not saying that there's something wrong with the oil. It may be low, but I don't know. But the battery, that low battery is just a dead giveaway of what we got going on. Yeah, the oil level's fine. Alright, let's go ahead and start it up. My money's on the alternator charger. Guess I was wrong. It's cranking, but it's a crank no start. Let me try it again. Well, I'll be damned. It's I was wrong. So we have a crank no start. Well, what it is. I guess I'm gonna have to do a little bit more work than what I thought I was gonna have to do. I thought it was gonna be an alternator, call it a day, but the alternator do look like it was replaced. I probably replaced one before. All right, let's see what's absent. Let's go in the car real quick. The biggest thing is it hit once and then shut down. See, it did that number. Now I'm looking for the key to flash, the move key, but the key is not flashing like that. I just want to, because sometimes what'll happen, the key will lose its program. Let me try flood clear. Okay. Oh boy, sound like timing. Oh, blown head gasket. Yeah. See how it's backfiring? That's interesting. A couple things that'll cause that. Timing jumped. Another thing would be bad coils. Coils can short out, cause some problems. Blown head gasket. So we're dealing with a couple different things. Hold on, let me get this charger. I know what I think I should do, but I'm not going to do it. And I know it's going to bite me in the butt. I should scope the crank sensor. Because if the crank sensor is making half voltage, or the crank sensor is gone wonky and shot, that'll cause the cranking sequence to act as though the timing's off. So if the crank sensor is bad, and it's making half voltage or it's in and out, it'll cause this chaos. I don't want to do anything just yet with that, but I know instinctively I should. Less, I could pull the plugs out, inspect that. Like, it could be flooded because it responded a lot better, but then again, it still try to start up like the timing was lethargic and lacking. So retarded timing. If the time is retarded, it's not going to crank over real fast, but it'll try to start. It's just not going to have the proper timing and fuel to combust efficiently to work and run on its own. So, boy, oh boy, oh boy. What do I want to do? I just smell gas, straight up gas. Let's just pull the plugs out, see what they looking like. Because I'm thinking if the timing jump because of low oil, and then what they wind up doing was adding oil, then it's gonna throw me off a little bit. I could call and inquire about that. But the backfiring is just a sign of bad timing, which will lead me to suspect blown head gasket, which the cylinders can get each other's compression, or incorrect crank sensor function. Check how bad these plugs are. This plug is horrible. What are the odds of plugs just being fouled causing all this? But that's excessive fuel dump. Plugs are old. You can see the compression seeping through the porcelain. Right at the porcelain there, which is an indication of age. You see they're fouled. Oil soaked too. They're saturated in oil. Let's see if we can look at the ground and see how it's triangulated. You might not be able to see that, but the ground, this top part here, is worn out and triangulated, and what that's an indication of. See how it's going up and it's not flush from one corner to another. This is a sign of just old plugs. But what are the odds of just if a misfire was created? Oh wait, there's steam coming from there. Hold on 1 second. Let's see if there's any pressure in here. Let me turn this fan off. See if we hear any air pressure. Be quiet. No. So there's no air pressure. I don't smell any combustion gases. So if there was a misfire that got generated, car to start running like crap, plugs got fouled, but delayed time will cause these plugs to foul too. Could have been another scenario. Look at that. See that? That looks like, is that water? But that's steam though. I mean, it could just be remnants of combustion gases, inefficient burn. I hate to say it, but this is just so rare. I think I might have to put a new set of spark plugs in here and retest everything, because if the misfire is so bad, it's gonna create chaos. I could just take these and clean them though. Let me do that. Let me pull all of them out, inspect them and clean them, and then we'll pop them back in there and see if it wants to start. But foul plugs will do this. Foul plugs will do this. Just rare that you see it happen. And again, if the car happened to start up and it was flooded, and then the flood clear no longer works because it was just so far out of the replacement intervals with the spark plugs, then we can have the result that we have, but the backfire is what's throwing me off. Oh gosh, all these things are gonna break. Yep. At least it's not like a Toyota. Yep. Broke. You see that steam coming out of there. Y'all don't see that? Oh, the camera picks all that up. But that steam bothers me because I always suspect head gasket. Number 1 is filed 2. Number 2 was the worst. Number 3. Yeah. Filed 2. Number 4. Filed 2. Yeah, all of these are filed out really bad. Like I said, I got multiple scenarios that could cause this condition. Coolant temp sensor can go bad. Call a fuel dump, and then we get the result we got. You know, it gets flooded. Just random environmental, uncontrollable circumstances, and then it does this thing. But I swear she said it started up. It just ran hard. If it started up and ran hard, then she probably had a hard misfire. Don't know. I should have looked at misfire data. Well, I should have looked at map sensor data because it's backfiring intake. That bothers me. Another thing that can happen if we have a burnt valve on the intake side. If a valve is burnt on the intake side, I would have been able to see that on the map sensor because we can utilize that data as a transducer. And then instead of a nice slow drop off into vacuum to about 4 psi, it'll be wavy because we're seeing pressure enter the intake chamber, and it's not supposed to be there. It's just supposed to be vacuum, so it needs to suck. So we got a couple options. Let me clean this off, put these back in there, then we'll look at some data. Here's the clean plugs. Now let me further explain what my logic is here, because like I gave you the scenario with the coolant temp sensor, the scenario with the burnt intake valve, again, it will put pressure inside the intake chamber, and if you know how map sensor work, well, it needs to go in a vacuum to regulate the proper amount of fuel needed. When it goes to atmosphere 14 psi, because this is a naturally aspirated motor, if you're under heavy throttle, the demand ramps up. When the demand is low, the demand of fuel, the requirement for fuel is low. So when the demand for fuel is low, the requirement for fuel is going to be low too. So it's going to give out less fuel in deep vacuum than it is at atmospheric pressure. So if it's spiking to get to atmospheric pressure, it'll create these unneeded rich conditions, fuel dump, and then you get this. So I got a couple different scenarios, but this will get answered when we put these back in there and try to start it up. Same result. All right, let's pull up some data. I'm gonna go to the generic portion because the information should populate as I start it up. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna see if there's any codes present. None should have been generated. So it looked like the battery was disconnected. No, I don't know why I did that. I'm just gonna look in there anyway, see if there's anything pending. Nope. Okay. Let's go to live data. We're just gonna go to absolute map sensor, because you can hear that. You can hear some pressure getting pushed back into the intake. I don't know if y'all heard that. Here we go, right here. Let's pull this up. Enhance. All right, let's start up. It should drop. Yeah, see that? See that waviness? That's a burnt valve right there. And now I'm holding the throttle open. See how it goes away? Let off the throttle. Yeah, we don't have any vacuum. It's not trying to get pulled down the vacuum because there's pressure being introduced in the intake. So we need to figure out which cylinder has this burnt valve. And to do that, we got a couple options. We can do a compression test. And then when we find the cylinder with no compression, put the bore scope down there, look at the intake, and then voila, there's our problem. Logically though, I mean, when I find that cylinder that's jacked up, I should be able to take the spark plug out, start up, so I can get it moved at least on 3 cylinders, so we don't have that pressure getting pushed back. This is what I'm hoping, because we still could have bad timing where the actuator for the intake has been broken and the gear has altered, but that's rare on Hondas. I mean, we had that on the Kia Hyundai, but not on, it shouldn't be on this. I think we're just dealing with a burnt valve. That was a great compression. That was 180. That was great. We could do like a relative compression test, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't feel like having to pull out the oscilloscope and do all that stuff. By the time I do this, it's probably equal to trouble hooking up all those wires and stuff. So I'm just gonna stay conventional today, because I feel as though if I can work just as fast. So that was 180 on one. Yeah, that's 180 on 2. That did sound a little funny. I'm gonna come back to that one. But this car should have taken it real deep in the vacuum, and it didn't. And that's, oh, that bothers me. I didn't pull that plug out. Forgot I put 3 back in there. All right, let's go to 3. That's all right. So if this don't work, then what I'm gonna do? Because I'm on the last cylinder, and yeah, if this is not the case, then the other thing that I was suspecting, timing jump on the intake side, and we got problems. Something that's causing this valve delay. Something is. Yeah, that's got 180 in there too. Man. Interesting. Huh. So, That had 180. All of them had 180. I don't want to do a crank cam correlation. I really don't want to. Let me think. I know it's getting to me. I'm gonna have to. I ain't got no choice. I'm gonna have to scope the crank sensor, and that's gonna tell me what's going on with the actual crank sensor. Because if something's up with that and it's producing an erratic signal, that'll give us the same result. Like the ignition timing can be off and it fired at the wrong time, and it'll push pressure back into the intake. But that's wild. That is very wild. Well, let's see what it sounds like without the coils in it. See if it has a good even harmony. Sounds good. So I went ahead and did a crank cam correlation because it was just much needed. I wound up using all 4 channels, had no choice because we have 3 sensors, crank sensor and 2 cam sensors, and we need a indicator to mark the starting point. So here at number 1, I'm on the yellow and green. That's the signal side, the crank sensor. Down at the bottom, clean that off. Down in the center, that was my signal. Over to the cams. Signal there. To the far right, looked like a blue and a white. And then the exhaust cam. It was on the far end there. So let me show you what I got here. The red is these colors don't correspond what I'm looking at here, but the blue is the crank signal. The red is the ignition event. That's the 720 rotation right there from start to finish. Here's our cam 360 at the bottom. Now it's good I got a pattern, but I need a good one, good waveform to be able to match this up. So I looked up and found Scanner Danner actually had on his website, he had a crank cam correlation for a 2.4 Honda 2. And one of the biggest things is these 2 humps right there, those 2, well, they're dips. Pull down on the blue, on the yellow. See how they're right there? If you notice, there's an ignition event there. They're using the amp clamp where I just wound up extracting the signal. So pretty much all we gotta do is just, they're the respected signal for it. So that amp clamp is going to be pretty much what transpired inside the box. So I can use this as that will match their amp clamp. And you can see that down at the bottom, the triangulated shape that begins to bisect the green trace. So this is our major point here. If you notice on mine's, my ignition event is up here. That cam is way down here. This cam is the on channel D. Channel D, right here on the yellow, which is my exhaust cam. So my exhaust cam is off. And looking, so this is their exhaust cam here on the green. Let's go, their intake cam would be the red. They don't even overlap properly. You see? Because our ignition event's way down here. Nothing's lining up for the exception of the crank. The crank in the ignition event. Let's look at the ignition event right there where they use their amp clamp. There's our small little notch right there. And then we got a big one and a big one. So it's kind of ending right there at this larger square. So let's go one notch over and match it up. Let's find our small one right here, one notch over, and it kind of lines up too. Like I said, they're using the amp clamp, but that's matching. So it's in that box. It's in this box here, the second box. And the same thing with mine. It's kind of in that second box too. So we're good here. The problem is the cams are out of sync. So pretty much just jump timing. And even I did a compression test. The compression's fine. It's just, remember, like I was telling you originally when it was starting up, it was very lethargic and it just sounded like the timer was very retarded. So without pulling all the other stuff off, this is what we're dealing with, jump timing. This sounds good. We heard it when I pulled the coils, left the plugs in there. It has a really good harmony. It's just not trying to catch for some strange reason, and because the timing is delayed, it's not going to start up. And if you remember that video I did with the Hyundai, the Kia, remember, because the pin broke, retarded that gear, it didn't do anything, and it was the exhaust gear too. Same thing with this one. This gear is retarded very badly, and it's not working like it's supposed to. So fuel timing is probably going to be off, valve timing, however, whatever interacts and engages with the cam signals. So I'm pretty sure the crank utilizes the injector and the ignition, but I'm not too certain. Usually that's what it is. The crank signal utilizes it provides information for the PCM to operate the ignition and the injectors. But long story short, if the mechanical valve time is off, it's not going to work right. It's not. So long story short, we need to quote a timing chain, and this should get it back working again. I am going to call and find out if it ran low on oil, which was the prerequisite for this, and that'll answer a lot of questions, because I was suspecting, even though it's got oil in it, usually what happens when things happen, people will add oil later, is thinking that's going to remedy what damage has already been done. It's not. So I should have did this originally, because I just knew from my gut feel, do a crank cam correlation, and I wasted 30 minutes of time. But now I've got a strong case now. We have good compression, we have off timing, feel good about replacing that timing chain set. And I did put the bore scope down there and inspect that. I did that off camera. I didn't see any burnt valves. I didn't have a gotcha moment. But then again, the compression test answered that question. Let me quote a timing chain and see what happens. But if you would have done something different, man, let me know, because this is what happened when you do not listen to yourself. If I get this, well, I should get the job and quote accordingly, and I'll definitely do a follow-up video. But if anything happened, I'll definitely update. Hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, head over to some more work. See you on the next one. So we got broken components. Oh yeah. We got jump timing. We got broken timing components. Look at that timing chain guide at the top, the rail. Give you the focus. Look at that, broken. So I don't know where that plastic piece went. Then we got, the chain isn't even really sitting on that one. So that makes sense. If I can get this thing to focus. See how loose that is. I'm pretty sure we could probably turn it back a couple teeth and see if it'll start. But what's the point where you can just replace it? Like, if it's, let me see. Look at that. That's definitely off. My curiosity getting the best of me. I wonder if I should be able to just take this rail off and then move it up a little bit, and it should start up. I mean, it wouldn't hurt. Oh, there's some of the timing components sitting in the back. Is that some of the pieces? Yeah, some of them right there. I'm about to fish that out. I can see the plastic pieces broken. Yeah, that answered our question. And I wouldn't mind getting that top dead center, and then we can see how far out the cams are. And we probably just maybe to move the gear up. I'll pull this rail off and just throw it back in time. This cam seemed okay. It's just this exhaust cam. I got the cam at top dead center, and they're supposed to be facing toward each other, the lobes are, and look how far this one is down at the bottom. It's way down there. I do have that one lined up properly. The other cam is just so far off. I mean, like I said, I probably could just throw it back in time, but I don't want to, if it rattled real bad or ran that bad, I don't want to risk damaging anything. We know we got good compression. We know the timing's off, and we physically verified that now. So there's no doubt about it. When we put everything back together, it has good sealing abilities in the combustion chamber. Timing is just off. We replace the timing chain and related components, and I'm going to change these sprockets here too, and because I don't know if it rattled before or not when she would start up in the morning. So with the mileage, it's best to go ahead and probably knock those out. You replace those and call it a day. All right, I'm gonna kick rocks and do stuff. See you in the next one.